I'm from Flagstaff. Not originally I'm from outside of Sierra Vista, but a whole crew of us came down this weekend. I'm sure you've heard of the Minutemen thing that is going on in southern Arizona right now. Yet last night we had what they called a binational poetry reading across the border. There were poets that came from the Mexican side and American side to the same point on the border wall, and we had it. We expressed our unity that we are one people, and so. That's pretty important. Based on where I grew up, that's really important. And yeah, I would like to read this poem. This poem's from my book called Sunset Shine, and I'm selling it out there. And I usually sell it for $7, but if you buy Gary's book, I'll give it to you for $5. So,
what a deal!
He would say that, wouldn't he? All right, but this poem is really dedicated to the idea that when we militarize our borders, we militarize our imaginations. And this poem is called She Asked the Sun Why, and the sun said, Shine. There once was a woman who put down her things and moved to the edge of the land. There she built a house so close to the horizon that the setting sun would have to tiptoe through her flower garden out back in order to sink below the horizon and let night begin. The first year, she planted only golden poppies and waited for the sun. She would drink fresh lemonade on her back porch at the end of every day. I see you, sun, she would say, rattling the ice in her lemonade glass. And the sun would reply again and again that he was made to rise and set each day, and he couldn't help himself from sneaking through her flower garden. I understand that, sun, but seeing as how you and I will be seeing each other at the end of every day, I would like to hear about just one thing you saw today in your journey across this impossibly blue sky. And the sun described to her the long shadows of the mountains that ran from him as he rose. And she asked the sun why out of all things he would remember darkness. But when she asked the sun why, the sun said, Shine. Walked out past her garden and over the edge of the horizon, night trailing behind him. Now this happened every day for a year, every day with a little bit more of the sun's shadow stories, and every day with the woman always asking why. But the second year, y'all, she planted only pure white tulips and waited for the sun. And this year when she asked him of the things he'd seen, he described to her how he looked at himself in the mirror of the ocean, just once each day. Again she asked the sun why, and the sun said, Shine. Now this went on for years and years, each with its own story of the sun told bit by bit at the end of each day, and each with its own flower planted by the woman. After a time, as all things do, the woman grew old and soon knew that she would only have one more year to live. And this last year, she planted only pure blue columbines and waited for the sun. I've grown old, she told him. And soon I won't be here to ask you the things you've seen each day. I know, said the sun, I've seen it happen, but you should ask me just one last time. Sun, I see you standing in my flower garden as you have every day for years. Just please tell me one thing you saw today in your journey across this blue sky. And the sun rocked backwards, silent, but then the sun rocked forward, speaking, and he said, I spend every day of my life high above this planet, watching the shadows of the mountains run from me, looking at myself in the reflection of the ocean. I look at the shapes of the cities and daydream about what animals they look like. Now these are very beautiful things, but every day I see them from only so very far away. And you, woman, are the only person I've seen up close. Your face is the only face I've ever seen up close, and I have begun to rise, waiting to set and see you. His words gone, he walked through the flower garden, never turning his back on the woman, and fell over the edge of the horizon. Now the woman sat back, poured herself another glass of lemonade, and began to think into the night about all of the things the sun had told her. Soon, mid slipped into night, and it was midnight. Her lemonade gone, she stood from her porch and walked through her flower garden, her bare feet whispering into the soil stories, as her fingertips brushed the tips of the columbines until her toes found the edge of the horizon. She took a cold breath, spread her arms, and loose let herself fall over the edge. She was the only movement in the cold night air. Her eyes whispering into the wind, tears as her lips whispered into the wind every story the sun had ever told her. She fell, and she fell, and she fell until she fell so far she found herself to be silver. She opened her eyes and found herself to be looking at the lights of the cities below her. She had become the moon. Now the days when you can go outside, look up and see the sun and the moon and the same day blue sky, now those are the happiest days. Because those are the days when the sun and the moon finally get to see each other again and tell each other of all the things they've seen. She tells him of city lights and ocean tides and finally understands what the sun means when the sun says, shine. Thank you.